Since I played LA Noire many years ago, which went directly into my all-time top 5, I've been looking at some other game to give me the same feeling while playing it. Mafia Definitive Edition looked like that game, but it is not. What it is though, is a very entertaining and good looking action adventure. Let's review it. The actual plot happens 10 or 15 years earlier than LA Noire. This is the 30s, during the Prohibition, and right after the crash of 29. Our story is based on the fictional city of Lost Heaven, which is inspired in Chicago. It's mostly told as a big flashback. In 1938, Tommy Angelo, our character, meets police detective John Norman, seeking protection for his family. In exchange, he's willing to explain the whole story of his activities working for the famous Salieri crime family. This gives the excuse for each of the game sections as we relive all those stories in the role of Tommy Angelo himself. From his beginning as a cab driver to being a fully operational mobster and one of the inner circle members for Salieri. The story itself is quite solid, if a bit of a cliché here and there. One thing that definitely makes it stand out is the exceptional voice acting, which is top notch.
Tough break. Case must be getting pretty cold by now.
Or you got something might warm it up?
Yeah, I might have something.
Face expressions from the engine are not as solid, but in general cutscenes work well. The only thing that makes the whole plot a bit fragile is how many people you actually get to kill as part of your missions, with potentially hundreds of kills, and that obviously detracts quite a lot from any historical realism and jumps more into the game side of it. There are two modes, story and free ride, but 90% of the game is really the story mode. Free ride is there just to enjoy how well done the city is and enjoy riding around it, but it doesn't really hold as an open world game or anything like that. Every game section usually starts with a cutscene to set the action, and then you get some sort of mission to do. Most of the time you'll have to drive there or meet someone before, which allows you to enjoy the wonderful city environments created for the game. Then you will have one or more action sequences. In this sense, this is very much a run-of-the-mill third-person style game, and the combat is fully described by its cover system, which we've seen in a million games by now, and was made famous by Gears of War or its predecessor Kill Switch. The game encourages or even occasionally enforces stealth for some of the missions, but even for those, some sort of combat is usually unavoidable. Some of the action scenes happen inside vehicles, either taking the role of the driver or being a gunner. When we complete the missions, there's usually a final cutscene and then we jump into the next section. And this simple and straight formula of combining cutscenes, driving and combat sequences is what creates the gameplay loop. It does become slightly repetitive, but I guess simplicity is also part of its charm. The game is called Definitive Edition because it's the actual remake by Hangar 13 of the original game, which came out in 2002, developed by Illusion Softworks. The game was well ahead of its time, but it still is over 20 years old by now. The remake has respected most of the original as far as the story and general level design goes, but it uses a Unreal Engine instead of the very old LS3D they used for the original game, and it certainly shows. The environments and the city in general are exceptional. This is a gorgeous game, and I would say the reason the free ride mode exists. It's just nothing short of inspiring to drive around the city and enjoy the activity. One of the main issues with the original is that it was hard enough to create a whole city inside a game, so adding life into it was impossible given the limitations back then. That's all gone on this Definitive Edition. Although there's not much to do around town, it's just a joy to see how alive the city feels with traffic, street vendors or whatnot. The sound has also been revamped, and the main star here is the previously mentioned re-recorded voice acting, which is extremely good. Mafia Definitive Edition is a very good game, but not a great game. It's an easy one to recommend, as it has so many good things going for it. It's a looker, the story is interesting, and it's an easy game to grab and play straight away. Unfortunately, it is after all a remake from an old game, and although it doesn't look old at all, some of the gameplay decisions are clearly very simplistic. Too many times we end up running from cover to cover shooting at enemies just to reach the next cutscene. It is a tried and true technique, and it has been very successful with some sagas such as the very infamous Uncharted games, but by today's standards, it needs to be spiced up a lot more to avoid repetition. I still think it's a good game worth playing if you are willing to accept its gameplay limitations. Also, in my opinion, it has a well-adjusted length. It doesn't outstay its welcome, and that's a benefit for many games, including this one. I finished the game in slightly more than 15 hours, and I'm pretty sure some people could do it in quite a bit less. For cloud gaming, at the time of this review, you can play it in both Boosteroid and Game Pass. For its overall score, I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10, which means it's a good game, without being an all-time greatest. Its couch score is very high, fully controllable on the gamepad and divided into easy-to-split sections with auto-saving. Also, input lag isn't noticeable at all. It's just not very replayable, so I'm going to give it a 9 out of 10. And that's all for this review. I hope you liked it. Remember to like and subscribe for more reviews and information on cloud gaming. But even if you don't, thanks for watching and enjoy your gaming in a relaxed setting.